Welcome back to Talent Time with Sharon Z. I am here today with an amazing woman. Her name is Brenda Keen. She is from Boston, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You sing all over Boston, New England?
Boston, New England, any place that'll hire me.
Actually, I saw you come to a location where I was singing in.
That's right. You were at a gig in Plymouth, I believe.
Yeah.
It was the first time that we met. I came to hang out with the keyboard player.
That's right, Steve.
Steve Heck, yes.
Steve was on my show.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Oh, he's wonderful.
I know.
Person and talent.
Oh, yeah. He's incredible. But I think it was, what, 2 weeks ago, maybe?
Just about 2 weeks ago,
I
right.
saw you at a wedding.
We met up again.
Light bulb in my head, I went, oh my goodness, Brenda.
And then how fortuitous. We sat at the same table together.
That doesn't happen.
So
It was meant to be.
there
So
you
here you
go.
are.
Yeah, and here I am again.
And I don't know you. So this is, I mean, I've only met you maybe once or twice. You came up, you sang a song or two, and I got to talk to you at the table, and I am dying to hear about you.
Wow.
And hear about your life.
Thank you for having me today.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So now tell me, you were born in Boston.
Actually, I was born in Cambridge, Mass., and I grew up in Malden, where I taught school for 30 years. I just recently retired from a 30-year career in elementary education.
Did they learn anything?
And oh, you bet they did.
You're a good teacher. Mrs. Keen, Mrs. Keen, oh, Mrs. Keen.
Iron fist and a velvet glove. That's how it has to be. 'Cause
My
it's all-
sister.
It's all about their learning.
My sister believes about the same thing. They love her. I don't know how you teachers do it, frankly.
It's the hardest job, but the best job, and it's entertainment every day. It truly is.
When did you start to actually entertain?
I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my mother and I would take walks to the center of town, and we would pass this dance studio, and I would always make her stop because I would hear the music. It's the piano. And then one day we went in, and I was just amazed. I saw the kids dancing, and the lady was playing the piano, and that's kind of how it all started. So I started when I was like 5 years old, and the tap dancing and the singing. And then I remember being the first song I ever sang in public on stage, and I was 5 years old. It was at the John Hancock Hall, Dorothy Quincy Suite, in my little tutu and my tap shoes, and I sang Frank Sinatra's "Love and Marriage." And that's now I don't know
Perfect age.
I don't know how many 5-year-olds, but I grew up on that. My parents always had music in the house, always. That's the first thing I remember, from Patti Page to Frank Sinatra.
How did you get your style? I mean, you're a jazzer.
I am.
You are a real true jazzer.
But I listened. My parents listened eclectically. So, and we were one of the first people in the neighborhood, because I'm going back to the 50s, Sharon. So.
Oh, I won't say anything.
And we had the little black and white TV with the little record player that plugged into the back of the TV, with the little tiny dinky speaker, and the 45s, and then my father would buy the albums, the blue albums, and they were blue at the time, or red, or kind of amber. Music morning, noon, and night in the house. And my mother and father had great voices. They loved to sing.
That's where you got your talent.
That's where I got my talent.
That's it. That's absolutely it.
And I have my parents to thank for fostering that interest in me over the years.
Well, it's interesting because parents are not always into the thought of their child going into music, but I do know that it helps certain children assimilate to a life that, we're different. I was different. I was a different child. I knew it from the beginning, and when I found music, it was my home. I found my home.
Exact point in case this year, I had one of my students, academically, she really had no interest, but she had a good brain, and she would be constantly drawing and singing all day long. Every once in a while, I'd have to say, "Stop singing, can you stop?" I never thought I'd say those words, and I said that to the kids, and I never thought I'd say those words. But you gotta just do it, sing in your head, sing in your head. So one day she came up to me, it was around Christmas time, and she asked me if she could sing 3 songs to the class. Now, absolutely. And I said, and they knew that I sang, because I always introduced that music to them. And we did a lot of music in the classroom, and I would say to them, sing it back to me, sing it back to me. They would make up a tune, they would sing the answers. We watched a lot of YouTube. We'd start every day with Frank Sinatra's High Hopes. So the kids knew music was really important to me, and then I shared with them by singing, and I'd show them YouTube. And so she said, you know, can I sing these songs? I said, absolutely. I said, Mama, let me stand next to you, because if you want, I can sing with you. Because you don't want to make any kid make a fool out of themselves. And so I said, okay, you're on. The next thing I know, I look over and she's cutting it off. I step back and went, she doesn't need me. And then she said, the voice of an angel. And even the other students, their jaws dropped.
Yeah.
So she not only gained a newfound respect amongst her classmates, I was so thrilled to finally be able to tap into something for this child. And so everywhere, music is just, you know, when they say where words fail, music prevails. And
that's
I told to the parents to please save your pennies. This is where you should be, you know, focusing your child. So I hope that someday, some way.
She is going to remember this, because you know what? You started young.
Absolutely.
And weren't you on one of those?
Oh, I don't know how many people remember community auditions.
I remember it.
It's still on. It's still on Sundays.
Star of the day.
Who will it be? Your vote may hold the key. It's up to you. Tell us who will be star of the day.
Oh my God!
I'm going back to the days of Gene Jones. He was the
gosh.
original host, and then it was Dave Maynard. And
Dave Maynard. That's who I remember.
Yep. And then I think there was somebody else, but now it's Billy Costa.
You need to call him.
Well, you know, I was thinking, I said, wouldn't it be funny if we could do a
reunion.
like a reunion of anybody who was on community auditions, who is still, you know, working in the business? Because I always kept that going through high school, through college, through teaching. That was always I always said I lived in one world and existed in another. So, and I said to people, you pick. But I always kept that going. So I remember I was one of the Grand Championship winners. I came in second, and it's so funny when I
what
went to
was the song you sang? Do you remember?
I did an Al Jolson medley.
Wow!
I think it was like Swanee, Toot Toot Tootsie,
oh gosh, you were
Rockabye,
very ahead of yourself.
It was always the little girl with the grown-up voice and the song selection. So when I went to one of my high school reunions years later, one of my classmates came up to me and said, and Brenda, I remember in the 6th grade when you brought in those postcards, because at the time it was send in a postcard to vote on community auditions. And imagine him remembering that. That's what he remembered of me.
Wow, it's like American Idol today.
Yes, exactly. Except now it's electronic. Or
will you do me a favor? Will you sing us a song? Please?
I would love to. How about we do a little Ray Charles?
Do it.
All right.
You bet.
We're going to do Hallelujah, I Just Love Him So.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Now let me tell you about a guy I know. He's my baby and he loves me so. Every morning before the sun comes up, he brings me coffee in my favorite cup. That's how I know. Yes, I know. Hallelujah, I just love him so. When I'm in trouble and I have no friends, I know he's loving me until the end. Everybody asks me how I know. I smile at them and say he told me so. That's how I know. Yes, I know. Hallelujah, I just love him so. Now when I call him on the telephone and I tell him that I'm all alone, by the time I count from 1 to 4, I hear him on my door. In the evening when that sun goes down and there ain't nobody else around, he kisses me and he holds me tight, tells me, baby, everything's alright. That's how I know. Hallelujah, I just love him so. Hallelujah, I just love him so. Now when I call him on the telephone and and I tell him that I'm all alone. By the time I count from 1 to 4, I hear him on my door. In the evening when that sun goes down and there ain't nobody else around, he kisses me and he holds me tight, tells me, baby, everything's alright. That's how I know, yes I know, hallelujah, I just love him so. Hallelujah, I just love him so. Hallelujah, I just love him so. Well, hallelujah, I just love him so. Love him so, love him so, love him so. Love him so, love him so, love him so. Love him so.
So tell me, how did you even think about doing that song? How did you pick that?
Well, Ray Charles is one of my favorites, and then one of my accompanists, we just talked about him,
Right.
Steve Heck. It's one of Steve's tunes, so I kind of ripped that off from
Did
Steve.
he play that?
Not on your show, but he plays it quite frequently. And they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So,
How did you even pick out your style? I know you're a jazzer.
yeah.
I'm a Broadway singer. That's kind of how people know me. How did you know?
I just like I'm a melody person.
Right.
So the melody gets me first,
Right.
and then the lyrics, and then the phrasing comes. And we're in my household, you know, as I said, as a kid growing up, it was just, the music was eclectic. I zoned in on something that I liked, but as in training, I never studied privately. Excuse me, the Berkeley route.
You didn't go to.
I didn't do the Berkeley
No.
route.
What
I
did
didn't
you
do
go
the
to school for?
conservatory. I went to school for education.
Where?
I went to Boston University.
Oh my gosh, so did I.
But what I decided to do was, as a young age with my parents, I studied with different vocal coaches in Boston. So I've had the operatic vocal coach. Her name was Victoria Samuelian. I'll never forget it. I did country
like
and
that
western.
one, did you?
But you know what? It gave me, again, everything helped lead to where I am
Technique is-
today.
That's right.
So I did the opera coaching. I had a country and western vocal coach. I remember his name, Bob Riley. I had a pop coach, Art Brophy.
How can you remember all these things? I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Well, it's like an elephant. Sometimes you never forget, and then sometimes you forget it all. And then,
Well, speaking of forgetting, how are we doing like on lyrics? Have you ever had that scary experience? You get up there, you sang the song a
Yeah.
million times in your mind, no problem. You hear the music coming up and suddenly,
there's a lot of la 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 and ooh ooh oohs, and then you find yourself back to where you should be. And then if you don't, you make it up as you go along. So there's no business like show business.
that's right.
For sure.
That's right. You know, it's the only business where you can be totally yourself and
Appreciated.
That's it. That's it. You know, I think there's a lot of honor in it because as selfish as it is for us, it's giving.
Absolutely. It brings a lot of joy to a lot of people, and
That's
it brings
right.
a lot of people together, whether they're listeners of music or whether they're musicians. I find that musicians are just the best people.
The camaraderie.
They come out of the woodwork for anything that you need.
I try to tell people that it's very interesting what we do. We can never have met a person, and suddenly we're on stage with them. And for some reason, there's this like silent communication. We don't even think about it. We know what the person is doing, what's going to happen, when to stand out of their way, when to give them the stage. It's an amazing thing.
It really is. It's
Never
because
meeting them.
It's that synchronicity. It's like gears. And I mean, how many gigs have we gone to where you just walk in cold, you hand them the book, and you go through? You've never played with these people before, and then the people in the audience say, "Oh, is that your band? How long have you worked together?"
15 minutes.
2 seconds. But that's it. And then when the stars are in alignment and you're in the zone, man, does that make for a great gig for everybody.
Who would we know that you played with? I know you have been all over the map. You have a very impressive resume, an amazing name, I know.
And that is my name, Brenda Keen. People would say to me, "Oh, is that your stage name?" Nope.
No. Speaking of, do you have a way to reach you? I mean, if somebody
Yes. I can be reached at, my email address is brendavocals@yahoo.com.
You have a Facebook page?
Facebook, Brenda Keen, Keen. And I have a business number, 617-605-5457.
605-5457. That's amazing. You teach privately?
I have taught in the past. I haven't given much thought to doing that now. Something that has been in the back of my mind, but I have done some vocal coaching for some people, and I take them as far as I can take them.
Right. And then you pass them on.
Catch and release.
Well, you know, I never had a voice lesson until I went to the conservatory when I was 34. And what I had was, I should say, a little bit of coaching, because when I did all of the Broadway. But I took my real voice lesson, my first voice lesson when I went to the conservatory, and it changed my life. And I have no idea how I had missed it. But that, and then I did the same thing that you did, coach after teacher, and today I still can't do what you do.
Well, I think we all have found a niche.
Yeah.
And yours happens to be Broadway. I could never do Broadway. That's a whole different set of mechanism that goes on inside.
It is totally different. You know what? You cannot freeze for a second.
No. And with jazz,
there's room. I'm sorry.
There's that room to move.
There's free. Yeah.
The improvisation of it, the give and take with the musicians. It's again a very different, whole different dynamic. It's the phrasing. It's hearing it in your head. It's knowing where you want to go next with the note. And I never sing the song the same way twice.
No.
That's the beauty that I find in jazz.
That is one of the reasons why, you know, I don't have a niche for jazz. I've always been amazed. They had something at the conservatory. It was called the Keller Jazz Series, and all of the students would go in there. This was I think it's the same at Berkeley, any music school. And the kids would go in there, and they would just be able to just freestyle, practice with all different people that they wouldn't normally do it. And I would sit there going, oh my gosh, how do they know to do that? Wait a minute. I know him from, and I might have seen this person somewhere, but what, that guy's playing not a jazz beat, or I don't know what it would be called. It didn't occur to me to understand that this was jazz. All I knew was that I could never do it. I'm just going to stay upstairs doing opera performance. That's all I know about it.
I find that a lot of it came through listening. I listen constantly.
You still do.
YouTube is my master class right now at this stage of my life.
Thank God for YouTube.
I would recommend that to anybody. There's a lot of junk out there, but there is certainly some really, really good things out there for singers.
You can teach yourself how to play piano.
I'm teaching myself how to read music, music theory, through a website called musicnotes.com. It's great. And also, again, when I find a song, I get on YouTube and I see who's doing it and what the arrangement is and what I like,
and what you don't want.
What you don't want is sometimes more important than what you do want.
That's right.
And
it's hard to break old habits, though, I'm going to tell you. I have been told so many times, can you do me a favor, stop using your vibrato? I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I was. That's a good one. That's a good one, you know.
A criticism is very...
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all part of making you better and learn. And you take what you need from the source. You always look at the source, that's for sure.
Yeah. I know you've been in competitions. I know you've done these amazing things. I'm sure you have a CD. Didn't I? I heard you say something earlier that you got.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's something that it's in the works right now. I haven't had a CD out for many years.
Yeah.
When I was much younger, there were all those demo records that went here, there, and everywhere. And I have a CD that I use for audition purposes. That's something that it's only got 3 or 4 songs on a sampler, but it's something that we're working on right now. And the song selection really came from feedback from audience,
That's a great way to do it.
What the audience seems to like, and so because that's
I guess you're
what
right.
it's all about. And then of
Well,
course
you
you
tailor
throw
it.
in my own favorites.
Of course. Well, you always have to. It's Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You know, that's what everybody always asks. Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Doesn't everybody love that song?
Everybody loves that. That was my mother's favorite song. Her favorite song.
That was the song of the century. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that followed by White Christmas, I think it was. I'm not joking. I'm really not
Wow.
joking. I think it's cool.
Well, classics are classics are classics. But,
Didn't your father, what did your father do? I know he was into, oh, I know what it was. Because I do MMA, didn't you meet like a bunch of boxers? Didn't your father?
Well, here's again what music leads you to, which
Okay.
is just phenomenal. Muhammad Ali. I had the great pleasure of meeting Muhammad Ali and shaking his hand when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I was over in the early 60s. I was over at Channel 5 at the time on Morrissey Boulevard in Boston. And I was taping a TV show. It was called Youth on Parade. And it were these two sisters from West Roxbury, Ruth and Eileen Casey. One of them was a very well-known singer in the big band era. I think it was Ruth that was the
Name
singer.
sounds familiar.
And they really believed in fostering young talent in the Boston area. So my mother,
God bless her.
God bless her, got me involved. So I was over at Channel 5, and we're sitting in the lobby, waiting to go in and tape the show. And all of a sudden, the lobby's abuzz with all this excitement. And I didn't know what was going on. And my father heard Cassius Clay. Because at the time, he was still Cassius Clay.
Yeah, right.
He had just come off of, was it the Olympics, I think, at the time?
You know, I don't know, but he was definitely a household name.
So this limo pulls up, and these 4 massive men pile out of this limo, and this Adonis, this beautiful man, beautiful, phenomenal little girl, this handsome, beautiful face. And I'll never forget the words. The people walked in ahead of him. He goes in, he opens the door, and he walks in, he goes, "Here I is." Well, never forget the words. My father was beside himself. He got me, my mother pushed us up, introduced us, shook his hand. My father told him I was here to tape a show. So, boxer number 1. Don't ask me how this all falls into place. Boxer number 2, Rocky Graziano, walking in the streets of New York with my parents, again as a kid, going to the time it was called the Ted Mack Original Amateur Hour. It was big. It was on in New York. We went to audition. So we're walking in New York, and this gentleman's walking towards us, and my father's all excited. That's Rocky Graziano.
How did your father know all these boxers? Was it like a past tense?
Well, as a kid, and my father and his brothers-in-law, it was the Friday night fights, Sunday fights. I forget what night it was. Well, there were fights every.
Oh, you know what? They
during
still do that.
The weekend, in black and white TV. I'd be in the living room with my uncles and my father, while all my aunts and my mother were in the kitchen. And I was brought up on boxing, so I knew the fighters and I knew boxing. But again, to now meet Rocky Graziano walking down the street.
Right.
And my father stopped him again, introduced us, and he took it and told him what we were doing in New York. And he got a piece of my sheet music and wrote on it, "Good luck, honey." And he signed his name on it.
And you still have it?
I still have it.
Is it framed?
It's in the archives. It's
Well,
not framed.
no. You've
It should
got
be framed.
to frame
You're absolutely
these
right.
things. I have a beautiful signed picture. Not picture. It's a photograph of Muhammad Ali beside just a profile. Now to me it's priceless. At the time, I just thought it was cool.
I wish the cell phones were invented then, so you could take the
Right.
selfie. Who had selfies? Who had even thought of bringing cameras with them in the '60s? And the third boxer was Rocky Marciano, right from Brockton.
I was going to say.
And he, at the time, had a cocktail lounge called the Westgate Lounge. And one of my vocal coaches had a great trio. And again, I was a kid. I was always, in my teen years, my mother was always with me as my chaperone. I would gig there. So I got to meet 3 world champion boxers through music. How
Amazing.
great is that?
It doesn't get better than that.
It really, it's funny how you put it, when you think about it, then you put all these things together.
Tell me, has it ever happened to you, like it has to me, that you just sort of forgot about a job? Like, oops.
No, but jobs have forgotten about me. They've double booked, and you arrive on the scene with all your gear, and you're all set, and you walk in, and they look at you, and they go, "Brenda, why
Why are you here?"
Well, it's in my book, and they went, "Oh, but there's," and then they go look, and they've made the mistake.
Well, thank God for that.
So that's happened on a couple of occasions. Thank goodness I've never missed a gig. Like I said, the gigs have missed me. But it's a funny business, just a funny business.
It sounds like you have no regrets of ever getting into it.
Well, first of all, I try to live my life with few regrets. I think
Right.
we all have some regrets. But no, it's always it's a passion, and now that where I am retired from education, this is my focus. Now I can do this more and have the time, because it's a night scene, and you have to be in the scene to be seen. And getting up to teach school doesn't allow you to be in the scene.
No, but you know what? We always tell our kids, listen, it's wonderful that you love your music, but you really need to have something to fall back on. Education is the most important thing. I agree with all that. I agree with that more so now that I'm older, because the retirement, I mean, we get older. Well, you know, music has changed since we began. I mean, remember there was 6 nights a week. It doubles on Tuesday, doubles on Saturday. You know, that doesn't happen anymore. It's a very specialized, people ask for you,
Right.
Which is also why you remembered so much, because they still want you, you know. They still want me, they still want you, you know. When there's a...
That's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, you've made a name, you're a household name. Just a couple of things, because we're coming to the end. Is there a schedule where somebody can actually come and watch you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I've got some things coming up over the summer. On July 16th, which is a week from Saturday, I'm performing at a local, wonderful little bistro called Portobello.
I've heard of this.
It's on Main Street in Wakefield.
Oh my goodness.
It's just a special little place. The food is to die for. So that's the 16th, and that's from 6:30 to 10:30. On July 20th, I'm going to be at Sardella's in Newport, Rhode Island, from, I think, 7:30 to 10:30. And then I do all my postings on Facebook. So if you want to check me out, Brenda Keen, Keen, that's where I post my my upcoming gigs, because I've got Portobello in August. I've got some other things in September that are coming down the pike. So, yeah, I'm very blessed. I have some great musicians, and I've been very lucky. I haven't had to really go out and find work. Work has come to me.
Well, that's when you know
it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And but you still have to get out there and pound that pavement. You still have to get out there.
Well, I will tell you, you are an amazing voice. I want you to sing
Sharon.
more. We don't have time, but
You'll have to have me back.
I'm going to have you back. In fact, maybe I'll design a show around you or something. I don't know, but
Maybe the two of us.
there we go. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching Talent Time with Sharon Z today, and you can email me at talenttimesharon@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, Brenda.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you, everybody.